Hello, how are you today? We're so glad that you're here. We got a fantastic program today with Alice B. Crider. But first, I want to recognize that March for Life was last Friday and Martin Luther King Jr. is today. Martin Luther King Jr. said, among many wonderful things that he said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Equality and life are important. They matter, both to God and to they matter. They matter. And they deserve recognition. So we do that today. So they say that, let's go on to the program. They say that the key to successful marketing is getting inside your buyer's head, to think like he or she does, so that your marketing message connects with them first, and then they'll listen to what you have to say. Now, this is not natural. We like to think from our own head, our own brain. But my guest today is going to teach us how simple it is to think like our audience so that we can connect with them, so they're interested in our message, so our message can help them and change their life and maybe change their eternity. Hi, I'm Patricia Durgan, and this is Marketers on a Mission. We present marketing, tutorials, and interviews by and for Christian writers, speakers, and artists. This month, we're presenting the Right Start Online Summit. 20 experts sharing 20 secrets in 20 days. It's pretty crazy and it's wonderful. This is episode number 221 of Marketers on a Mission, 10 Steps to Copywriting Gold with book editor Alice B. Crider. Hello, Alice. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you? This is so fun to be here.
We always love it when you can join us. I know you're so busy. It's wonderful. Wonderful to have you.
Thanks for having me.
You have a book to show us, but before we even get to that, you're pretty famous for an online course that you've created and you've delivered many times, has great value and results. Tell us about the Author Access Masterclass, please, Alice.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. So, I developed the course because I'm an editor working in a book publishing house, and it occurred to me a couple of years ago that book publishers, traditional publishers, are having a hard time marketing books, and authors are having a hard time marketing books. And I thought, maybe I better jump in and help. So I developed the course to kind of help authors, first of all, kind of get their head trash out of their way and realize who they are as an author, and then help them really nail down on who they are trying to serve. Mm-hmm. And I like to say, build a tribe, not a platform, because you'll hear at writers' conferences and you'll hear from publishers and editors and agents that you have to build a platform in order to be able to market your book. And I like to take that word out of the space and use the word tribe instead. And so we talk a lot about what is tribe building, how do you build a tribe, who are your tribe members, all that. And I've had so much fun with it. I've had about 45 people go through the course, and lots of people have gotten amazing results. Everybody gets something different because everybody's an individual author, and every audience is their unique audience. So everybody's been doing different things and getting different results, and it's just, I absolutely love it.
It's very fun. There are lots of moving pieces, but if you love that, and I do and you do, that's what makes it the fun part, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
We're not looking for cookie cutter, and our audience is not looking for cookie cutter.
Right, yeah. Very true.
Which brings us to today's program. What have you got to tell us? You have several things that are just fascinating to talk about.
Yeah, well, since I decided to learn about marketing myself, I've learned quite a bit. I've spent an obscene amount of money on courses for myself so that I could really learn to help. And lately, I've been working on copywriting for myself, and I've been studying how other people copyright. And so I would love to talk about copywriting here today. And I would love it if whoever is watching and listening in today, if they want to talk about, like if they could write in the chat or the comments below what they're writing, whether they're writing fiction or nonfiction, or maybe what they've already published, anything they can give us a clue on what they're working on. Maybe I can tailor a little bit of this to those specific people. But if nothing else, I'm going to be talking about how this works for fiction, nonfiction, even if you're writing children's books, even if you haven't started writing a book, but you want to start building that tribe like we just talked about, you want to have strong copy or strong language in your writing. And even if you wanted to become a speaker, like you can use copywriting for speaking. Um, so yeah, so if you can see those things, I actually don't have my Facebook up because I don't want to get distracted by those things. But Patricia, if you see people jumping in with what they're writing, if you could let me know, that'd be great. So
Okay. I'll try not to interrupt you. When you come to a natural break, I'll try to copy and paste and then hold them until you're ready for them, okay?
that sounds great.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we could start with, like, what in the world is copywriting? Some people are familiar with that term. Other people are not. It's not the same as copy editing. Copywriting is anything intended to persuade the right reader to take a specific action. So basically, if you're an author, you're writing books, you want people to take the action of buying your book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this is worth learning, because you can actually persuade your audience to take the right action. And if you think about it, your audience is already out there looking for something that's going to meet them where they are. Mm-hmm. And so that's going to be your job in copywriting, is to meet your audience where they are with your words. And you're going to use powerful words. There are different patterns that you can use in copywriting. So copywriting is used in sales and marketing. And I know a lot of authors say, I just want to write books, or, speakers just want to speak, or bloggers just want to blog. But you really need to be able to sell and market if you want to reach and persuade, and you want a large following. So copywriting is like the secret weapon that you can learn, and anybody can learn it. It's not something that anybody's born with. People can learn it. So why should you learn copywriting? Well, it's worth learning if you want to capture and keep the attention of an agent, an editor, or your readers or your listeners. And first of all, I've heard, and I should have looked up the statistics on this or some kind of research, but I've heard that it is one of the highest paying jobs in the world. Mm-hmm. I happen to know someone who's told me he paid someone $1,000 just to write a headline for one of his sales ads. And it's like, wow, why would that be worth it to someone? Well, if you can write a powerful headline for someone's sales ad, and they make $1 million or even $10,000 on their whatever they're selling, it's worth it to them. And so another good reason to learn copywriting is that no one is going to speak or write about your topic or your book or your story like you will. And so you are the one that knows your material best, and you know your audience best. And so you will probably be the best copywriter you could ever have for your own material. You can hire other people, and in traditional publishing, you'll get somebody that will write copy, but you'll have to review it. Like, somebody will write the back cover copy for your book if you publish with a traditional publisher. They'll write headlines, they'll write catalog copy and all that. But if you can even know copywriting well enough to review it, you'll know if it's powerful enough for your book. Mm-hmm. So it's useful for book titling also. It's, like I said, back cover copy, marketing ads. It can help you write a really powerful proposal if you're writing a book proposal for an agent or an editor. It can help you build your social media presence. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, the Facebook posts that capture your attention are probably pretty good copywriting, even though maybe somebody's not even intentional about it. But if you get intentional about it, you can write really good posts every single time. It can sharpen your writing books or blog posts or everything that you write. So a great place to start is with writing a great headline. Like, that's probably, like, if you learn, even if you don't learn to write back cover copy or you don't use it to write a long blog post, if you can learn enough copywriting to write a really good headline, a great headline will always outperform an average one. It'll always get people's attention, and a great headline should connect emotionally with your perfect reader. It'll touch on like a fear or a desire or something. So a pattern that you want to kind of look for. And I would highly suggest that you kind of look at other people's writing. And a great place to start would be with our very own Patricia Durgin. Everything Patricia posts on Facebook, every sentence and every question or every headline she writes is copywriting. It's good copywriting. It's strong. It's intentional. She chooses her words carefully. In fact, when she asked me to write a couple of paragraphs about what I was going to talk about today, I sent her some really sloppy writing. And then she made it shine. And she wrote, like, if you look at the posts about this program today, that's good copywriting. Like, she took what I kind of blurted out there and she turned it into really strong copy. So if you study what she posts and even how she does her Facebook Lives, even how she articulates her questions and her interviews, it's good copy. And if you're on her email list, just pay attention to how she writes her emails too. She writes good headlines for her subject line in her emails. So that's a really good one. And if you're writing fiction, another good person to study is Susan May Warren. She has a course that, it's called My Book Therapy. So if you go to mybooktherapy.com, you can find her. She's also a best-selling novelist. And if you happen to get on her email list, you can study how she writes marketing copy. And she has just a really predictable pattern. If you pay attention, every time she sends out an email or posts on Facebook, she has a hook that kind of gets you interested and makes you think, it kind of grabs your attention because it meets you where you're at. And then she usually tells a little bit of a story, and it's not necessarily about her, but it's often is about her. And then she always has some kind of call to action. Like, she wants you to check out her, the book that just came out or the course that she's doing or something. And so if you can kind of look at the patterns that people use when they write their copy, and if you see things on Facebook that capture your attention, like, pay attention to those things. It's like, why did that capture my attention? What are the words that landed with me, and why did that catch my eye? So whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction or children's books or magazine articles or newsletters or anything, copywriting is like a superpower worth mastering. Mm-hmm. So you can pay attention to that. So my friend Jim Edwards, who's a very successful copywriter, says that putting the right words on paper and online is the single most profitable skill anyone can learn. So if you really want to make money with your writing, you got to learn copywriting. And it's a skill, like I said. It's not a talent that anybody was born with. And if you're already a writer, you're already halfway there. And you can just start getting really intentional. So good copywriting, like I said, it's basically thoughtful and strategic and intentional. And if you look at good copywriting, you can tell they chose their words carefully and they placed them strategically. One thing you can do is, when you look at a sentence that maybe you just wrote or a headline you tried to write, often if you can put a really strong word at the very end of it, it kind of hits home faster with somebody who's reading. So another place to start is by looking at the top 10 reasons why anyone buys anything. And I want to go over these. You can take notes if you want to. Number one is, people are always looking for ways they can make money. And that's just a fact, because usually people need a little bit of extra here and there because surprises come up in life. So if there's a way that you can show someone that your book or your writing or your whatever you offer is going to help them make money, that's a powerful angle to take. And so you don't have to attack all of these, but you do want to know what they are, just in case there's a way for you to use these.
May I for just a second, Alice?
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
About the handouts, and I want to make sure that everybody knows there is a handout. This is not it.
Yes, yeah. So the handout is actually going to go with this. So if you take notes, write down these 10 things, and then we're going to go through. The handout is actually 11 questions that you're going to ask yourself, and you're going to do some writing so that you can basically see how many ways that you could actually touch on these things in your copywriting.
So when we get there, we're going to give you the handout, all right? We're not trying to trick you.
Right.
Thank
Yes.
you, Alice.
And we're not jipping you. Yes. Okay, so the top 10 reasons anyone buys anything is: number one, people are always looking for a way to make extra money. Number two is to save money. People are always looking for ways to save some money. And sometimes people may have the option of, gosh, do I go take a course at the local university to learn what I want to learn, or can I pick up a book? And it's like, maybe you can show them how your book would replace that. So, and then number three is to save time. If you can help someone see that your book or writing will help them save time. Number four is people are always looking for ways to avoid effort. Number five, people want to escape mental or physical pain. Number six, people want more comfort. And that may be physical comfort, mental, emotional, or even spiritual comfort. They may want comfort from their grief. Number seven is they want to attain better health or sometimes beauty. Number eight, people want to gain praise or recognition. Number nine, people want to feel more loved. And number 10, they want to increase popularity or social status, or in a way feel somehow significant. So those are the primary reasons people use to justify their purchases in their own mind. So if you can help them to learn those, or to see that your book or your whatever you're offering in the way of writing or even speaking, you can help them understand that they're going to get some of these things from what you have to offer, then they will justify it in their own mind. Because often anytime we're advertising, or, we are so desensitized to salesy things, if somebody's pushing something, we shut down so fast because our little survival brain says, no, this isn't a good deal. But if we can show them that we are actually helping them find what they're already looking for, they're more likely to buy. And we want to sell books, right? Mm-hmm. So the key is really to tie multiple reasons into why people buy, not just one reason. And your book or the piece that you're writing may not actually touch on every single one of these, but if you look closely, you might see that you can touch on several of them. And you can do this by asking certain questions about your product or your book, whatever your blog, whatever you're writing, and getting really creative in your answers. So Patricia, if you can go ahead and distribute the handout now, that would be great. And we'll start going through these.
I'm going to do two things. Viewers, I'm going to send you the link right here in the comments. There's the link. And I'm also going to show the page that as soon as I get over here to it, that we're going by. Okay?
Okay.
Let's do that now. Let's do that now. Yeah, really now. Oh. I believe this is the correct page. Sometimes I'm not quite sure. Is this one with your target in mind, audience in mind? That's you, isn't it?
Yes. Yep, that's it.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so now do we have anybody who's said what they're writing specifically watching us today? Has anybody posted anything in the comments about what they're writing?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't see that and share this at the same time, but I can give you a rundown.
Okay.
This, and I'll give you a rundown so you can you have some idea who we are hosting today.
That would be great.
Let me get back to that screen. Now that's another screen. Mm-hmm. Let me learn, please. Here we go. So there are quite a few. I'm just sort of, instead of identifying everybody like I usually do, let me hit the topics and move on. Is that all right?
Yes. Yes.
So we can continue making progress. I'm writing a nonfiction book for young women. I have a blog and a monthly podcast geared towards that same audience. Another person writing women's contemporary fiction. A third, I'm unpublished, writing fiction romantic suspense targeting love-inspired. Another, Bible studies for women, devotions, cozy mysteries. And I'm telling you, the lady who writes cozy mysteries is a really good cozy mystery writer, Kathy Ellie. I got to give you a shout out, Kathy.
Oh, hi, Kathy.
I said it wasn't, but I can't resist. Women's, I got that one. Nonfiction articles in a narrative style and devotionals. A couple of more. Christian medical thrillers and historical fiction.
Ooh.
I've got that one, women's fiction, just a couple of more. If you could just give me Christian romance and middle school readers, several types of writing, especially articles, devotions, drama, a blog, and Christian children's work. And lastly, there's just a question from Christy Horeen, perhaps. That strong word that you mentioned, have a strong word at the end of your sentence. Are you looking for a verb or a noun? Does that matter? Alice?
Probably a noun would make the most sense. So let me think. Yeah, probably, and most often it'll be a noun.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me go back to the share screen then, and we can go over these. And if you're looking for the handout link, it is in the comments, not too far. It just was recently added. And this is the same thing that you're seeing on the screen, all right? But the others for you to download at your leisure and have it for your records.
Right, and you're all probably going to want to take this and really spend some time with it, because my suggestion is that you take these questions and answer each one of them 10 times, so that you actually answer each question 10 different ways or more. Like, I would even say don't stop there, because sometimes once your brain kind of gets engaged with something and you have a couple of ideas, then you have a few more, and then you might get to a place where you feel stuck. But if you can even push yourself and maybe even stop and say a little prayer and say, God, how can I answer this question a couple more times, and just see what comes to you, because he's really good at downloading stuff like this. So, yeah, it's a fantastic way to write. And anytime you get stuck, I highly recommend asking God for help, because he's actually right there with you in the process.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
okay, so we're going to go through these questions, and I want to give you a few examples, just because otherwise you might, like, just reading the questions right here might make you feel like, oh, I don't know how to answer those questions. But I want to give you some examples just to kind of get a little bit of brain juice going, so that when you go to do this on your own, you kind of already have maybe some ideas. And you may want to even jot down a few notes as we go, because some things might come up for you. So the first question is, what are 5 ways my book could help someone make money? And so, sometimes most of us in Christian publishing are not necessarily writing on finance or money making or any of those things. So it's not necessarily your topic that's going to help them make money, but maybe your book could end up helping someone get a better job or get promoted or be recruited somehow, because it helped them with something that they were stuck in their life. And so it could happen that something happens for them after they read your book. Maybe it'll help them have more confidence or get past a difficult time that they're in, so they're able to work smarter without emotional hindrances. So even fiction sometimes can be the escape someone needs to, get over something that has them holding back in life, so that eventually when they come out on the other side of even reading a novel, they feel like, wow, you know what, that was just a great little vacation for me. Now I'm ready to go for it. So you might have to get really creative with this one and fiction, but there could be a way. And don't worry about coming up with like the best answers for all of these questions, but because there'll probably be, maybe 2, 3, or 4 of these questions where you're like, wow, I'm really on a roll with this. And hopefully what you'll end up with at the end of this exercise are some actual headlines that you could use, or potential headlines. And then you can start massaging them and editing them and seeing, and you could even throw them out there somewhere on social media and see what lands with people, see what kind of responses you get. So that was number one. So number two, how can my book help someone save money over the next week or month or year? And again, here you are talking about money again, but your book might help someone even heal their marriage and save 10 times the money they'd pay for a marriage counselor, or save them the expense of an attorney going through a divorce. Like, what if you could save them that kind of money? Maybe it'll heal their depression and help them get out of debt. Maybe, you just kind of have to start letting the juices flow here. Like, think about where your reader is in his or her life, and think about, what financial benefit could there come of my book or my blog post or my piece. Okay. So hopefully this is starting to make a little bit of sense.
And you're going to give us some examples here in a little bit. So we're reviewing the questions, and then we're going to see that in real life. Well,
maybe I could back up a little bit and give some examples now. That might be easier.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah. So, so going back to question number one, like some five ways somebody could make money with a book. There's a book called What Color Is Your Parachute? Mm-hmm. And right there, that's a hook. The title of that book is a hook. And that book actually helps people explore what their strengths are in order to get their dream job. And so if you were to go and you could go look up that book, and there'd be really good copy with that book. So I don't have really specifics like that. But I'm sure I can think of a book for each one of these that would match, that you could go look at to study the copy on those books. And I'm not sure what the subtitle is on that book, I'd have to go look it up on Amazon. But basically that book is about getting your dream job. And it's a good book. So is that helpful, Patricia?
It is. Let me see if other people are... Christy says, I get the feeling some of these questions and answers are sort of like backstory to fiction writers. These are the answers we need to know to write effectively, but we aren't necessarily going to use all of this information in a copywriting blurb.
Yes.
Boom, Christy.
Yes, very good. Yeah, you could, in fiction, you could be thinking about, what is my reader dealing with right now? Are they dealing with needing more money? And how could I weave that in? Are they looking to save money? And how could I even weave that into my story? But and if you can use some of these questions to create some punchy headlines for yourself, that'll be a really beneficial exercise.
And then you're going to use those headlines or those subheadlines, whatever it is that these writing prompts are giving us. We will be using this exact content or reshaping it. This is our basic nugget, and then we're going to refine it based upon other study and other research and more prayer. But Christy, you're both right, and some of it still will be used just like in a fiction book.
Yes, yeah. And so one of the things you want to kind of start aiming for as a copywriter is every time you post something on your social media, every time you talk about your book, or every time you put up a blog post, you want to have the most powerful copy right up front in front of people. So, or if you're going to a writer's conference and you've got appointments with agents and editors, like some of the most attractive people at writers' conferences to me as an editor are the people who can sit down and in 2 seconds, I know exactly what they're writing and why they're writing it. And so they're the people that have, figured out how to write a punchy headline, and they sit down, they have it memorized, and they sit down and they say, this is what I'm writing. And it's like, wow. So I have a friend who is a relationship coach. And whenever she introduces herself in social gatherings or, like at church, she'll say, hi, my name is Cassandra, and I help successful women who have everything but a man find true love in their life. And it's
Whoa.
like, you can't be in her presence without hearing that. And it's like, exactly what she does. And it's just a no-brainer. And so that's like a great conversation starter too. She does a lot of networking, and that's how I know her. So yeah.
Can we say something about that too, though? For people who are not in her audience base, they're not going to want her message, and that's okay, isn't it?
Yes, it is okay. And yet they're going to remember, because, who doesn't know someone who's single and possibly wishing they could be in a relationship, and, they are like a career woman who has everything but a man. It's like, so she gets a lot of referrals too, just because she's, you can't meet her without hearing that that's what she does.
Mm-hmm.
And she does it in a way that you're like, oh, thanks for letting me know. It's not obnoxious at all. It's just like, wow, now I know who you are. That's really cool. So, and you don't have to go around blurting out what you write to everyone. But when, like if you want to sit down with an editor or an agent at a writer's conference, or if you just run into people who ask you, what do you do? If you have a quick and ready headline to share, people will remember. And they may not buy your book. They may not rush out to Barnes & Noble and grab your book right away, but they'll probably remember it. Mm-hmm. So, or they might think, wow, I got to get that book for a friend.
Yes. Isn't that the perfect?
Yeah.
That's grassroots organic marketing right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is our goal. We don't always meet it, but that is our goal.
Right. Yeah.
I get excited, so pardon me.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So then the number 3 is how much time will my book, let's see. Yeah, well, we talked a little bit about how could my book save money. And I can't think of a specific answer for that one, or example for that one right now. But if we can go on to number 3, how much time will my book save them, and what else could they do with that time? So there are lots of ways that I think you could answer this one. But if you think about like a devotional, maybe it will help someone who's busy connect with God quickly so they can get going really powerfully into their day. Maybe see, if you think about the book, Have a Better Kid by Friday by Kevin Leman. So a parenting book, that could help parents get a grip on on disciplining their children quickly, and not taking 18 years to get your kid to cooperate with you, but having a better kid by Friday, that is a giant hook. And honestly, that book doesn't have a ton of amazing parenting advice in it, but the title of that book was so powerful that it sold. It's probably still a bestseller, but it was on the bestseller lists for quite a while because the title was so powerful.
Does a hook always include a promise? To me, they're separate, but I don't have your knowledge.
Very often it does, especially when you're either titling or subtitling a book. It does have a promise. Sometimes a hook can be a question, though. Like you posted a question when you posted about this session today. And I don't know if you have that handy in front of you.
On the email or the graphic?
On the graphic online.
Well, I do have that handy. Let me go right here. It is... what is copywriting exactly? How does it help your audience? That phrase, is that what you're looking for?
Right. Those are kind of hooks. And then I think you said something like, I don't remember what you said. Sorry. Maybe that's a little bit of a rabbit trail, but
that's okay.
Anyway, sometimes a question is enough of a hook, and that's good copy too. Sometimes it's something a little bit shocking, like, let's see. I saw somebody recently said something like, oh no, Facebook shut down my entire Facebook account. What do I do? And that was an email that I got from somebody that was selling something, but it caught my attention because it was like, oh no, your Facebook account can get shut down. Like, how did that happen? I want to know so it doesn't happen to me. So yeah, there are lots of ways that it doesn't necessarily always offer a promise, but often it will, and those are powerful.
Okay.
So
can somebody help Carol McAdoo? She said she can't hear, and I can't do all the tech and respond to her. If you could make a suggestion to her, possibly check her audio or come get off and come back on, reconnect, so she could join us, not just visually, but also with audio, that'd be great. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Okay.
All right. So moving on to next one. Number 4 is, what is something your reader won't have to do anymore after reading your book? So this is where you're going to help them to avoid effort. So if you've compiled maybe a study on the book of Ezekiel in the Bible, which is, that'd be a kind of a heavy study for a lot of people. But if you're like, look, I really, really studied this for a year, and now I've simplified it so that you could actually understand the book of Ezekiel and how it matters to your life. You could start playing with, how do you help them avoid the effort of going and studying the book of Ezekiel themselves? Or maybe your book will give someone the information that they've been looking for in an area of their life, so they don't have to go and do all the research for themselves. And all they have to do is follow your footsteps, read your book, or follow your next blog series, or something that you're teaching, and they can learn what you've already learned in a really easy, accessible way. And in a way that this, you could look at it, if you're writing fiction, usually fiction has some kind of theme. So I recently read a book that was set in Alaska, and it was one of the main characters in the book had PTSD. And so I thought, wow, how fun. I get to kind of take a vicarious trip to Alaska and understand someone who's dealing with PTSD. And so without a lot of effort, it, like this book gave me these amazing visuals of what Alaska is like, and, descriptions, and just the real feel for living in Alaska. And it also helped me really understand like the trauma and the heartache that comes with PTSD to a whole family. And, so even in fiction, you can help someone to avoid the effort of, like, I probably wouldn't have gone and studied the history of Alaska or the geography of Alaska or, or Alaska weather. I wouldn't have gone to just study that on my own, but getting to read it in a novel, I feel like I kind of understand what life in Alaska might be like for people. And same with PTSD. It's like, I don't have a real interest in studying like the books on psychology. But getting to see it played out in a story, it's like, wow, I really kind of get the impact that can have on a family. And then with nonfiction, it would be a little bit easier to work on those things. So then number 5 is, what pain do I eliminate for them? Most of the time, readers are often looking to solve a problem, and sometimes it's a real pain. That they're dealing with in their life. So think about, is your reader actually dealing with some kind of physical pain? And even depression can cause physical pain. So you want to be looking at, how is their life going to be different after reading your book? What's the benefit they're going to get? And here's where a hook would be like a real benefit. So let me think. We did a book here at David C. Cook. We titled it Reclaiming Sanity. And basically it was about taking your life back if you feel, if you've been dealing with depression. And because a lot of people who've been dealing with depression feel like they're kind of going crazy because sometimes they can't quite put their finger on what's wrong. So,
can we say that a lot of people that I talk to, and I'm sure you too, you talk to a total different group of people than I do, that often I'll ask them, what's your book about, or what's the takeaway, or what's the promise? And they'll say, well, if you read my book or listen to my presentation, you'll understand God better. Can you elaborate on how worthy that goal is and how weak that phrase is?
Yes, thanks. That's a really great question. Yeah, so there's what you believe people need, and then there's what they actually know they need and want. Mm-hmm. So somebody who, and yes, a lot of people are like, wow, I really do want to go deeper with God, but there's a reason they want to go deeper with God. Mm-hmm. And so that's what you actually have to get to. It's like, why do they want to go deeper with God? What is really driving that desire? Because to go deeper with God is really vague, because I don't know that many people could actually articulate what that means unless they go to how they feel when they go deeper with God. So you actually want to start looking for, how do I help them get that feeling they're looking for, not just the generic get close to God, that, if that makes any sense. So I also like to use, when I talk about this at conferences, it's like sometimes I'll meet people who they want to write a book on forgiveness because we all need forgiveness. Well, if you say, my book is going to help you forgive those that you can't forgive, a lot of people are going to say, well, I already know I need to forgive, and maybe I already have forgiven. But if you can tap into what's going on in their life, that the root of the problem is unforgiveness, but the feeling is, wow, my relationships aren't working, or I can't sleep at night, or I've lost my appetite and I can't figure out why. And every time I run into Aunt Martha, I just feel sick to my stomach. It's like, and they can't quite put their finger on it, but they know they have something going on. And so if you can address those things, what they're actually feeling rather than what you think they need, then there's some great headline fodder in those things. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Preach it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where, I also want to caution people, like, your book is not for everyone. And so when I get a book proposal and somebody, it says, who's the audience for this book? And it says, oh, all women ages 18 to 88. It's like, no, you're probably going to miss a big opportunity here unless you can narrow it down to really specific people in your audience. And I like to say, think about one person that you're trying to reach and tap into that person's heart and their head and their feelings, their emotions. Figure out, if you can reach one, then you can reach many. So,
okay, thank you. Good.
Yeah.
We're enjoying this so much.
All right. So number 6 is, how can my book help to eliminate emotional or mental pain? And this is similar to, eliminating physical pain, but even a novel can do this. Your story or your message might shed some kind of light on some ways that people could overcome worry or depression or fear or anger, all of those. And so your job here would be to articulate, like, how can your book do that for someone? So again, you want to tap into what is the reader feeling. Mm-hmm. So one of the books I got to work on years ago, or I didn't really work on the book, but I was there when it was being done, so I got to kind of follow along with the editor that worked on it, was the book Radical by David Platt. The subtitle in that book is actually a fantastic hook. It's basically taking your faith back from the American dream. And when people saw that headline, it actually triggered a felt need they didn't even know they had. Yes. And so the title Radical didn't really strike me personally. I don't know if it struck anyone else. It's kind of like radical. So radical about what? But as soon as you read that subtitle, taking your faith back from the American dream. It's like, wait, did the American dream hijack my, my faith? What happened? And so it makes you curious, and it makes you feel like, I better find out, how did the American dream steal my faith? So that one's, and that one kind of comes in line with a little bit of mental or emotional pain. It's like, here I am striving to get the house, get the car, get the job, have the 2.5 kids, have the American dream, but I feel unfulfilled. And so there's that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So number 7 is, what are 3 ways that I can make people feel more comfortable? So talk about cozy mystery. Oh, yeah. So here you might not be, like if you're writing a cozy mystery, you might not be talking about feeling physically comfortable, but you actually could. I mean, like you don't necessarily even have to talk about the story to have someone feel like, okay, this is your opportunity to get in a big comfy chair, turn on that gas fireplace, make yourself a cup of tea, get really cozy, because this mystery is going to keep you engaged for hours, like all day long. Don't you hope you're sitting in your warm, comfortable house while it's blizzarding outside reading this cozy mystery. So.
Kathy's cozy mysteries make you want it to be.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, so that's one way to look from a fiction angle. And then, so a parenting book can do this too. Like a parenting book might help moms sleep better at night. Like, what if you're writing a book on how to let go of the anxiety you feel around your teenager who just started driving so you can sleep at night? Or, a Bible study might help someone feel more comfortable in their prayer life. Your message on forgiveness might help someone who's grieving. You just kind of have to think about, again, you got to get in your reader's head and into their emotions and into their heart to figure it out. And if you can't do that, then find someone that you think might be your audience and have an actual conversation with them and start asking them these questions like, what do you need? What do you want? What are you looking for? What would help you feel better? All those things.
And this is not usually sitting at the top of the surface to be skimmed off. You got to dig and then dig a little bit more. And
that's why you want to answer these questions 10 times. You want to really dig, and you want to dig into your own mind about what it is you're writing and how you're writing it.
Can I ask a couple of questions? We have reader questions.
Yes.
Lisa Tarnow asks, are these statements that we're talking about, answers and so forth, is this what we would say at a conference, just meeting with an editor, or would we have taglines at the ready to talk about it with everyday conversations with those people who asked?
Yes, yes, and yes. These will come in handy all over the place. They'll come in handy when you're pitching to an editor or an agent. They'll come in handy when you're out socially and someone says, what do you do? And you say, well, I'm an author or writer. What are you writing? Boom, you've got a ready answer. You can use these in Facebook headlines you could use them in email subjects if you're sending out emails. You can use them on your Instagram, in Pinterest. I mean, just wherever you might post something. If you're writing blogs, often in a good blog post, you'll have the title of a blog, maybe a subtitle that goes with it. And then throughout a blog, you'll have little subheadings. These headlines or these captions could make really, really good subheads inside a blog post. So this is gold, you guys. Like, if you can really learn to write really strong, punchy, pithy sayings about what you're writing, they'll come in handy all over the place. And they're evergreen. Yeah.
And you just continue refining them as you work them and you see people's response.
Yes.
Mark or
Yeah. So if you use a headline that you've written and you feel like, wow, this is really good, you put it out on Facebook, use the headline and then write something that goes with it, or maybe put up a picture to go with it and see what kind of responses you get. If you get people really engaging with you, you've got something. And another thing to keep in mind is you want to have it be reader focused, not you focused, not focused on you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually in a conversation with Jim Edwards, my friend, he's a professional copywriter, and he said he was going to write, he wrote a blog post one time and he titled it, How I Made $10,000 in a Week Writing Powerful Copy. And it fell totally flat. And then he changed it to how to get more clicks, sales, and profits in writing, in writing powerful copy, something like that. And all of a sudden, whatever he wrote, wherever he posted that, it went viral. And he had so much attention that's actually, he 10x'd his money doing that, because people started wanting to hire him for copywriting. So, yeah.
We have time for one more question.
Yes. And then I got to be mindful of your time and mine. We got 6 more minutes on this broadcast.
Yeah.
So, and I have to get to
Barb Haley asks, we know the goal of a novel is to entertain. Our hook and back copy centers around the story. At what point would you use these types of hooks that we're talking about today? Not in writing, but in presenting books to publishers? Is that where we're headed?
Yeah, probably with writing fiction, you're going to want to hook. You definitely want to hook your reader. And so you do write to entertain when you're writing fiction, but often there's a theme or a message that weaves in and out of your novel. So for instance, the book I read on Alaska, the message was a lot about dealing with PTSD and how to have compassion with someone who has PTSD and how to take care of yourself if you're in a relationship with someone who has PTSD. So it gets you thinking. And so if you had an element like that in your novel, you'd probably want that in your back cover copy so that a reader could be drawn to the theme in your novel.
Okay.
But you can also just use it as, a headline or a hook to be able to talk about your novel with an agent or an editor.
Okay. Let me get us back over here so you can touch on these last ones, because viewers, Alice has a busy schedule. She's been so kind and generous to be with us today, but she's going to have to leave shortly. So let's get her back over here and let you do what you can with these last ones. All
right. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, and if you guys have questions after we're done, if you post them in the comments below, I will try and go back in there later tonight or this evening and answer any questions that I can. And if you want to contact me personally, you can contact me through alicecrider.com. There's a contact form in my website. You can fill that out and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Happy to help.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So let's see, are we on number 8, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So how does my book make it easier for them to attain better health? Well, you may be writing about health or you might be writing about weight loss, but what's interesting is you can look for statistics on almost anything, especially if you're writing nonfiction. But there's information out there like about how beneficial Bible reading is for your health, how beneficial church attendance is for your health, and worship, and staying married. There's all kinds of, you can do a little bit of research. So even if you were writing a novel about, someone who's potentially about to go through a divorce, you could show the health issues that are being dealt with even in a novel. So, and some of these are going to pertain and some are not, and some of them you're going to have to dig deeper than others, but I just challenge you to go ahead and try and tackle every single one of these and stretch your thinking to see how many times you can answer these questions.
And are you saying that we should ask, no matter what our message is, we should go through this entire list and answer each question 10 times?
As much as you can. And you might find yourself going, I have no idea. But if you just keep asking the question, even if you're not sitting at your desk with a pen in hand ready to write, keep mulling these questions about, because these are the ways that readers justify their purchases. And so the more you can touch on these things in some way, shape, or form, the more likely you'll have people to actually spend money on what you're writing.
That's a great point.
Or and same with sitting down talking to an editor or an agent It's like they're more likely to offer you money if they're like, wow, you are going to hit a target market with bullseye, you're going to nail this.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So maybe we could kind of skip through these kind of quickly because the clock is ticking and I have about 2 minutes. so number 10 is, what are 3 ways my book will help them feel more loved by their family, friends, or community? Your book might help somebody be a better mom, better dad, wife, husband, employee, neighbor, friend, whatever. Just look for how's your book going to help that person. And number 11, how will buying my book make them feel more popular and increase their social status? Here's a great place to use kind of FOMO, which is fear of missing out. You can use some scarcity here. Like, don't miss out on this because all your friends are reading this book or everybody's talking about this, or, this is the most important thing you can learn this year. Those kind of things. You can use that kind of language. So, or, be one of the cool kids, the smart ones, be in the know, stand out because you read this book. So
I know you get to go.
This is helpful, and there's so much more. And if I can take 2 more seconds, I want to show you guys this book that you have to have if you want to learn copywriting. This book is written by my friend Jim Edwards. It's called Copywriting Secrets. It's actually not out yet. It will be out later this spring. But if you want to be notified when it comes out, you can go to copywritingsecrets.com. and you can put yourself on the list for being notified when it comes out. I barely touched on the first 10 pages in this book in this talk today. There's so much wealth of information and exercises and ways to apply copywriting in this book. This is the guy that makes $1,000 an hour writing copy. So, in fact, he's a multimillionaire because he's a copywriter. So, he's my guru, and I intend to learn absolutely everything I can from him myself. He makes it super, super simple, really worth having. So get that for yourself. And if there's any way I can help you, like I said, you can find me on alicecrider.com. And Patricia, thanks for having me today.
It was wonderful. I know you got to run. We are so excited that you were here. We'll talk, and maybe you could come back another time. We'll talk another.
We'll talk again. Yes.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Patricia. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Wasn't that wonderful? Wasn't that wonderful? Oh, my goodness gracious. Let me check and see. Would you please do me a favor and give a shout out to Alice? She has done above and beyond. And Angie, I see that you have a question. There's a couple of questions coming in. You're very welcome, Timothy, Angie, Lori, Kathy. Wow! Alice she will be kind enough to come back and after she's done with her business day. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all these kind words. For Alice, these people that come and my guests, they are professional people who have lots and lots of responsibilities, and in their generosity, they come and share some of their knowledge with us. Not so much that we don't need them to come back again, and they usually agree to come back again. So it's just a wondrous thing. Let me tell you a little bit about the Asheville Christian Writers Conference. I want to show that screen to you. Go if you need to, but I want to tell you about this because, even though this conference is has already sold out, we need to know about conferences so that we have an educated mind and a prayerful spirit. When it's time for this particular conference again next year, you can know how to, what you're looking for and so forth. I'm not going to go over it exhaustively because we're a little bit over our time, but I want you to know this is Asheville Christian Writers Conference. It is held February the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th this year, and it's already sold out. The director is Cindy Sproles, and she joined me last week, and they told me that they sold out November the 24th. 3 months early, they sold out. And this is what happens with the good conferences. So that's why we can't wait until the last minute to start considering going to a conference. I'm going to run through just a few things with you. It is held at the Billy Graham Training Center, as you can see on the screen, at the Cove. That's in Asheville, North Carolina. It is near Biltmore and the city of Asheville. Applications for scholarships have also expired. That was also part of the deal. But I want to educate you on just in general Christian writers and speakers conferences, and this one specifically. That's what we're talking about for just a few minutes. Cindy wants this conference to be like a large conference, but on a really intimate level. So she intentionally limits the participants, both faculty and attendees, a total of 120 people. They really are heavy on first-timers. So that means that if you're a first-timer, this is an absolute perfect conference for you to put on your calendar, start thinking and praying and saving for next year. You can also get on the wait list for this year, and it's possible that the Lord would allow you to attend, but they're sold out. So you would need to contact Cindy, and the Asheville Christian Writers Conference.com is the URL. Got all those links for you like I always do. She said that typically 85% of the attendees are first-time conferees. Isn't that cool? Think of the people that she's mentoring and helping them go to the next level. And one of the things that she helps people do indirectly is helps them understand how to be prepared and participate effectively in a Christian Writers Conference. That's a sub goal, if I can put it that way. She said that just 85% typically 85%, although they do have seasoned writers attend. So if you're a seasoned writer, intermediate or advanced, they're still welcome you. They still have training for you, and everybody's welcome. It's just that the Lord typically brings them newcomers to the trade, so to speak, the field. They have a book contest. I'm not going to go over all of this because, of time, but I don't want to short shrift. The Asheville Christian Writers Conference used to be called a Writers Boot Camp. It has been popular since its inception and has sold out every year. This conference has a lot going for it. The faculty is outstanding. They have contests. They have one for devotionals. They have all of the contests. Those deadlines are passed. They have one-on-one mentoring. Listen to this. One-on-one mentoring, and this will be next year, okay? We're talking about probably for you next year if the Lord leads you in that direction. One-on-one mentoring for an hour and 15 minutes, just you and a successful author talking about your work. So do you want to talk about your content, your headline, your overall strategy, your marketing? What is it that you would want to talk about? And that costs an additional $50 on top of the conference, which is an unbelievable deal. $50 to talk for an hour exclusively with one person who knows what they're talking about, who could help you get light years ahead and save all kinds of time and money. And there's the nucleus for a hook there. They even start engaging and serving the conferees 7 weeks before the conference even starts. Cindy gives small assignments for people to get in the know and get comfortable with the idea of participating, because again there's so many newcomers, and when we have a lot of new people to our field, to our topic, to our message, to our ministry, then we need to go out of our way to make sure that they know that they're welcome. We want to make them comfortable, they belong here, and we're glad to serve them. And that's what Cindy does for sure. They do offer scholarships, and the window for the scholarships closed 3 months before the conference began. This is very typical for Christian writers and Christian speakers conferences, and most likely for other conferences as well. They don't wait until the week before to offer these things and hope that they can work them in. These are seasoned veterans that are hosting and directing these conferences that we're highlighting during this summit, and they know what they're about. Cindy is one who's right way up here. The faculty, some of the faculty, is Lucinda Seacrest McDowell, Bob Hostetler, Eva Marie Everson, Edie Melson, Larry Leach, Linda Gilden, and Yvonne Lehman. And these people they're outstanding in their field. The off-campus rates would be $305 if you could get in, or if you're on the wait list and Cindy allows you to come in, if it works out that the Lord opens that opportunity for you. The off-campus rates are $305, and that includes meals and the conference. Then lodging is on your own, and that's a separate charge. the on-campus rates, which are all gone. But next year, to give you an idea how you can think and save and pray, this year, the prices are for on-campus. They range from $305 to $475. And that's all inclusive. So that's the meals, the lodging, and the conference itself. Go to the Asheville Christian Writers Conference homepage and sign up so that you can keep up with, be notified when next year's information comes out. All right? So thanks so much for being here. Continue asking questions. I can't see them this very moment, but continue asking questions or making comments. Please continue giving shout outs to Alice. She just gave us her best today, and we're so very grateful. This has been Marketers on a Mission, episode number 221, 10 Steps to Copywriting Gold with book editor Alice B. Crider. Tomorrow, author, speaker, and conference director Linda Gilden, whom we just mentioned, she's going to be at a presenter at the Asheville Christian Writers Conference and others as well, Florida Christian Writers Conference. She's going to come and talk to us about how to use magazine articles to sell our books, or if we don't have a book ready yet, to build our platform. Magazine articles open the door for us to be seen and known. There's not the time lag of 2 years for a book to be printed. We don't have to go, there is a process, but we don't have to go before a book editing, you know what I'm talking about? When they sit around a meeting and they look for ways, and they'll tell you this, professionals will tell you this, they look for ways to say no. Magazine articles do have standards and do have submission processes, but it's a totally different ball game. And Linda's going to, she's written both articles and books, many, and she's going to help us understand that process tomorrow. You know, we're here every weekday at 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern, not just during the summit, not just during January. This is episode 221 today. This program is designed exclusively for you to help you learn the craft of professional writing, speaking, and marketing from those who are already doing it, because our mission is online. We must learn how to connect with total strangers online and help group. And this program is exactly the kind of program you need in order to do that. When we are clear about what it is that we do, who it is that we serve, and how we help them, we are by default excluding a group of, many groups of people, and making the way open, opening the door wide to that specific group of people that Christ has gifted us to serve. We can find them, they can find us. Boom, there we are, working together, and their lives change. And for some, their eternities will change. If you'd like to know more about how to access all of the Summit's recordings, to watch again and again and again for free, go to marketersonamission.com. That's my website. Same title, almost the same title as this program. So glad to see you. Be here tomorrow.